My dear friends, life after 70 is not about adding more, it is about lightening the load. At 20, we collect, at 40, we protect, at 60, we reflect, but at 70, we must release. Let me share with you 7 relationships that, if held too tightly, can quietly steal your peace. 1. The relationship with constant negativity there was an elderly man named Ramesh who had a simple routine. Every morning he would sit by his window with a cup of tea, watching the sunrise. But along with the sunrise came a phone call from his old friend. And that call, instead of bringing warmth, brought worry, complaints about health, arguments about politics. Endless negativity filled his mind before the day even began. One day, Ramesh paused and asked himself, at this stage of life, what am I feeding my mind? Peace or poison? The next morning, when the phone rang, he didn't pick it up. Not out of anger, not out of disrespect, but out of awareness. That day, for the first time in years, he listened fully to the birds, watched the colors of the sky, and felt a deep sense of calm. Negativity is like slow poison. When we are young, we may tolerate it, fight it, or even ignore it. But after 70, our mind becomes more sensitive. Like soft soil, what you plant grows quickly. If someone constantly brings stress, complaints, and fear into your life, you must gently step back. This is not abandonment, it is self care. Protecting your peace is your responsibility. You have earned it through years of struggle, sacrifice, and patience. At this stage, choose conversations that uplift you, people who inspire you, and moments that bring you joy. Because life after 70 should not feel heavy. It should feel like a calm river, flowing gently, reflecting light, and moving peacefully toward fulfillment. 2. The relationship where you are not respected. An elderly mother once shared her story. She said, my son gives me everything, food, clothes, medicines, but he does not give me respect. Her voice was soft, but her pain was loud. Respect is not something you can buy. It is not hidden inside expensive gifts or comfortable homes. It is seen in how someone speaks to you, how they listen to you, and how they make you feel. For many seniors, there comes a time when they tolerate disrespect just to stay close to family. They think, at least I am not alone. But what is the use of company if it makes you feel invisible? This mother made a brave decision. She chose to move into a small space of her own. It was not luxurious, it was not grand, but it gave her something she had been missing: dignity. She later said, I may have less comfort now, but I have more peace. At 70, life teaches us that respect is more important than convenience. It is better to live simply with self respect than to live comfortably with humiliation. If someone constantly ignores your feelings, dismisses your voice, or treats you as a burden, you must create distance. Not with anger, but with clarity. You are not here to beg for respect. You are here to live with it. Remember, your worth does not decrease with age. In fact, it increases. You carry wisdom, experience, and stories that no one else has. So choose relationships where you are valued, heard, and honored. Because respect is not a luxury, it is a necessity for a peaceful life. 3. The relationship built only on obligation there was a retired gentleman who spent most of his weekends attending social gatherings, weddings, distant family events, formal meetups, not because he enjoyed them, but because he felt obligated. He would come home tired, sometimes irritated, wondering why he even went. But his answer was always the same. Log kya kaheng? What will people say? One day, he sat quietly and reflected on his life. He realized that for decades he had lived to meet expectations of society, family, and tradition. And now, at 70, he asked himself, when will I live for myself? The next invitation came, and for the first time he said, I won't be able to attend. No long explanation, no guilt, no fear. Instead, he spent that evening reading a book, listening to music, and enjoying his own company. And he felt lighter than ever. Relationships built only on obligation often drain us. They are not rooted in joy or love, but in fear of judgment. At a younger age, we may play these roles, but later in life, we must ask, does this bring me peace? It is not wrong to say no. It is not selfish to choose your comfort. You have spent years fulfilling duties. Now it is time to fulfill your heart. Choose relationships that feel natural, not forced. Spend time where your presence is appreciated, not expected. Because life after 70 is not about pleasing everyone. It is about living authentically, peacefully, and meaningfully. Let go of obligations that burden your soul and embrace connections that truly nourish it. 4. The relationship that drains your energy. A grandmother once gave a beautiful piece of advice. She said, I have stopped arguing with people. Her granddaughter asked, why, Daddy? Don't you want to prove your point? She smiled and replied, at this age, I don't want to prove anything. I want to protect my peace. Energy is one of the most valuable resources we have, especially as we grow older. It is limited, precious, and must be used wisely. There are people who constantly pull you into arguments, debates, or emotional stress. You may win those arguments, but you lose something far more important, your inner calm. This grandmother realized that being right is not always important. Being peaceful is. She started choosing silence over reaction, distance over drama, and calm over conflict. And slowly, her life became lighter. At 70, your goal is not to fix everyone, convince everyone, or correct everyone. Your goal is to live peacefully. If a relationship constantly drains your energy, it is a sign to step back. Not with bitterness, but with awareness. You don't have to attend every argument you are invited to. You don't have to respond to every criticism. Sometimes the strongest response is no response. Surround yourself with people who bring calmness, not chaos. Conversations that relax you, not exhaust you, because energy once lost is hard to regain. So spend it where it truly matters, on your happiness, your health, and your peace of mind. 5. The relationship with the past. There was a man who carried a burden for over 30 years. It was not a physical burden, but an emotional one, regret. He would often say, if only I had made a different decision, if only I had chosen another path. These thoughts followed him everywhere. Even at 70, he was not living in the present. He was trapped in the past. One day, he visited a quiet place of prayer. He sat down, closed his eyes, and allowed all those memories to come forward. One closed his eyes and allowed all those memories to come forward. For the first time, instead of resisting them, he accepted them. He whispered to himself, I did what I knew at that time. I cannot change it now. That moment changed everything. He did not erase the past, but he released his attachment to it. Many seniors suffer not because of their current life, but because of unresolved emotions from the past, guilt, anger, disappointment. But holding on to the past is like holding on to a burning coal. It only hurts you. At 70, it is time to make peace with your journey. Forgive yourself for your mistakes. Forgive others for their actions, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve it, but because you deserve peace. The past is a chapter, not the whole book. Let it teach you, not trap you. When you release the past, you create space for peace in the present, and that peace is the greatest gift you can give yourself in the later years of life. 6. The relationship where you keep giving but never receive. There was an elderly woman known for her kindness. For Bud, Devil was an elderly woman known for her kindness. She helped everyone, relatives, neighbors, even strangers. Financial help, emotional support, guidance, she gave without hesitation. But over time, something changed. People stopped saying thank you. They started expecting more. Her kindness was no longer appreciated. It was assumed. She began to feel tired, not physically but emotionally. One day, she sat quietly and reflected. She realized that she had crossed the line between generosity and self neglect. Giving is a beautiful quality, but giving without boundaries leads to exhaustion. So she made a gentle change. She didn't stop helping, but she became more mindful. She learned to say no when needed. And something surprising happened. She felt lighter. At 70, your energy, time, and resources are limited. You must use them wisely. If a relationship only takes and never gives back, even in the form of respect or gratitude, it becomes unbalanced. You are not here to be used, you are here to be valued. True relationships are built on mutual care. It may not always be equal, but it should feel respectful. Do not feel guilty for setting boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. Boundaries are not walls. They are protection. Give where your heart feels appreciated. Help where your efforts are acknowledged. Because your kindness is a gift. And like any gift, it should be given where it is truly cherished. 7. The relationship with fear of being alone, perhaps the most difficult relationship to let go of, is not with a person, but with the fear of being alone. Many people hold on to unhealthy relationships simply because they are afraid of loneliness. They think, at least someone is there. But being with the wrong people can feel lonelier than being alone. There was a 75-year-old man who lost his life partner. Everyone around him assumed he would feel empty and isolated. But instead of sinking into loneliness, he chose to rediscover himself. He started gardening. Every morning he would water his plants, talk to them, and watch them grow. Slowly, his garden became his companion. When someone asked him, "Don't you feel lonely?" he smiled and said, "I am not alone. I am with myself." "Don't you feel lonely?" he smiled and said, "I am not alone." And that is the key. When you learn to enjoy your own company, you become free. You no longer depend on others for happiness. You no longer tolerate unhealthy relationships just to avoid silence. At 70, solitude can become a blessing. It gives you time to reflect, to connect with yourself, and to find inner peace. Loneliness is not the absence of people, it is the absence of connection with yourself. So build that connection. Spend time doing things you love. Talk to yourself kindly. Appreciate your journey. Because when you are comfortable being alone, you will never settle for less than what you truly deserve. And that is true freedom.